Welcome to the Just Jim Radio Show. We're here for another show of sharing some inspiration, some information, some ideas and concepts that might have us, look at life a little differently, maybe open some windows to see things a little clearer, let some light in, so to speak, or some doors we can walk out of, or let some opportunities in. Just Jim is a version of me. I'm the pastor at Sarasota Center of Light, Reverend Jim, and yet I'm just Jim, and here to bring practical spirituality or inspirational practicality to your life in a way that makes a difference. And as I've been saying during this time, being the difference that makes the difference, and we know we all need it. We do that through interviews, we do that through conversations. Today we'll be having a conversation with Alexandria Mazzarino. She's got a bio that's as long as you can imagine here in front of me, and has a lot to do with making your life different. She likes the idea of a wellness program, calling it Adore Your Life. She has degrees in psychology and fine arts, and she certainly loves to explore human behavior and has a number of different interests and focuses like astrology, crystal healing, chakra balancing, numerology, aromatherapy, a lot of things that help her be able to look at life differently and help others to be able to find their way. Alternative healing and homeopathic wellness. She's also someone who has developed training in energetic therapy such as Reiki, or Allergy Eliminate Techniques, and body talk, reflexology, all these things that many of us know about. And she's most recent endeavor is working with the NLS Matrix Decoder, which we'll talk about a little bit during our show. But she is a woman of many facets, a wonderful human being, just very enjoyable to be with and be around. And so I'm really grateful to have her here. She recently moved back to Florida, and so she's here, and I'm grateful to have her around. We'll be co-facilitating a class in September. We'll talk about that in a little bit. She'll be teaching a couple of them too. But today we're talking about frequencies and energy and wellness and the benefits of them, or the effects that they can have. How are you doing today, Alexandria?
Good morning. Hi. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, it was quite a mouthful, but those things that you've been able to, get into and activate and awaken and explore in you makes you the kind of individual that can help make the difference we're talking about that's needed for individuals and for everybody. So today we're here to talk about frequencies and energies, especially in how that relates to wellness. Tell us a little bit about how you see that.
So a very interesting experience I had in my healing wellness endeavors and my own search for trying to make sure that I didn't get sick. I came from, my father has multiple sclerosis, and the whole family has a lineage of a lot of autoimmune diseases. So I really was very proactive on trying to find the balance of wellness. And one of my first modalities that I came across, actually in college, I started having allergies. So allergies is really one of the fundamental awarenesses of the breakdown in our frequency and in our energy. But energy isn't everything. We are energetic beings. Even a table has energy. So everything has a vibration and a frequency. And what illness and disease is the breakdown of those frequencies, and when then there's disharmony within the energy fields. So an allergy elimination technique that I found started to explain to me that my energy and frequency was not compatible with the energy and frequency of something as simple as the foods that I was eating. So I had a shrimp, anaphylactic shrimp allergy, and that was devastating because I grew up eating seafood and loved it. And I developed it later in life, so I felt, well, something must have thrown off these frequencies. So I started to understand and learn from my own healing path these ideas of energy. So vibrational energy really is just like it's like working off of the energy of other substances. So we can even have people allergic to people. And I mean, I use the word allergy loosely because it's really the incompatibility of energies that then the body creates different symptoms to ward off the inability to connect with the substance that it's not compatible to.
So something as simple as a shift in vibration or frequency within yourself, you're changing your resonance, so to speak, in relationship to something, and just becoming aware of or working with varying techniques, which we'll talk a little bit about here today, can help to make you aware of, change those frequency and vibrations, and to help make you more compatible, more balanced, really, and more harmonized in frequency and energy with what's in your life or what you choose to have in your life.
Exactly. And when I was first told, okay, you have anaphylactic allergies, and they started doing allergy testing on me, the allergy testing then conferred that there was a lot of things I was allergic to. And the only advice I was given at the time was to avoid. And for the things that I couldn't avoid, such as pollens and things in the airs, there was over-the-counter medication, which in fact have their own frequencies, and they're very low on the vibrational scale. So that created more disharmony in my body and lowered my energy frequencies even more.
So this is an interesting conversation to have, which many people may not understand, as much as there are the physiological effects of, let's say, medications, or the physiological effects of ingesting particular foods or exposures to other things that then come into our bodies. It depends on how we are in balance or in harmony, or how we can then bring into our being what is necessary to have us be in more balance and harmony in the way we choose to live or to eat or what we choose to be in contact with.
Right. So we all are made up of vibrational energy, which is measured in hertz. And so the optimal, and human bodies have the megahertz of 62 to 70 megahertz is our frequency. So we have a norm. Everything has its own frequency number. So that's the energy that we run by. And our energy can oscillate. So it can go higher or lower. When it starts to go below 58, then we are susceptible to getting viruses and diseases, and that's when the body starts creating tumors and masts and skin reactions and sneezing, coughing. All of our allergic reactions are because our frequencies have lowered, and some other energy has come in and has lowered our energy level.
Interesting. So we're getting really right down to and not to get too deep into it, but really basic quantum physics here.
Yes,
definitely. You can imagine. Well, I remember watching a movie a while back called Mind Walk, and before it was over, I recognized two things. One is we are mostly space, because every atom has mostly space in it, and that nothing's in any one place at one time. So everything has this frequency built into every cell and every atom of who we are and whatever's around us. And it's really, you're talking about getting aware of how the frequencies around us affect us and how we can bring ourselves into a place that can be more in alignment with the way we want to be.
Exactly. So vibrational frequencies is basically the oscillation and the vibrating movement of the atoms and particles in the energy space. So it's kind of like they're bouncing off of us, and based on what is going on in our body and within our wellness, that's how we can, the measurement of the energy level. So when you're down to like 48 megahertz, that's when cancers and other ailments start to really get created in our body. And when a body's actually in decline, where it's starting to die off, the frequency is lower, as low as 20 hertz before there's no more energy left. So the energy, if we could think of it, it's like what acupuncturists call meridians, and they go into the energy level, and that's what they're working on. So they're working on our frequency. The same thing happens with a lot of different healing modalities, such as Reiki, the NSL, Decoder works with frequency, and there's a lot of different medicines now in this world who have been working with that. Who have been, sorry about that, who have been working with energies. So this is something that's been used in even before, because our energies can change within the environment. But besides, I wanted to go back to, you said we're mostly space, but we're also 70% water.
Right.
So there was Dr. Emoto, who's a Japanese doctor, who did an experiment and showed in scientific proof of how thoughts affect energy. And what he did was an experiment with water where he went in and actually put thoughts, wrote them on the labels of the molecule of a water, put energy, prayer on it, and then took a snapshot of these molecules of water. And the ones with positive messages, such as thank you, I love you, positive thoughts of that nature, looked like beautiful snowflakes. And with ones that he had put negative energy and thoughts, war, fear, anger, I hate you, those all were crumbled and dismantled. So they didn't have a pretty formation or even a balanced formation within their crystallization. So it was really, have you ever seen this, Jim? It's really
Yeah, yes, I did. And it's very interesting. He's been studying this for quite some time and has taken his studies even further to talk about who we are and how we are. And you and I are talking about something like this that people wouldn't think about on a daily basis. They might think about their activities or what's going on in more practical ways, but we are constantly surrounded by the impact that the thoughts, feelings that we have or others have, or that we involve ourselves in our interactions and relationships, have an effect. And so it's really important to recognize, thoughts are things, as they say, and they do have an effect and an influence on how we feel and how we live.
Right. And just to start the conversation of how do we raise our frequency, or how do we affect our own frequency? Thoughts is the segue of just knowing that on a daily basis, we are having thoughts, we are hearing things on the news, on the radio, and we are constantly, in the times that we are in today, people's thoughts are pretty negative. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of sadness and confusion. And you could say, well, how can I change that? That's what's happening in the world today. But we always have the capacity to affect our immediate environment, and we can change our minds.
Well, we are the world, as I've been saying in a lot of my talks. So it's like, as we're doing what we're doing, if we're in doubt or insecurity or fear or loss or emptiness, we can fill that or we can shift that, because that's our choice. We can be surrounded by it, but we can also then do things or use certain techniques or methods to begin to shift how each of us are. And as each of us show up that way in our own lives, in our interactions, in our relationships, in our communities, that's how the world gets changed, by each of us being a higher frequency, a different balance of energy in the way we choose to be and show up, first in our own lives, then with each other, and then as a collective.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really easy to say and hard to do is change your mind, right? So people say to me, okay, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I have these negative things happening in my life. So they can't snap out of it. So I like to provide tools so that people can realize that it's not always, so if you can't change the inside to change the outside, we can try to reverse it and change the surrounding areas and what we are putting in our body, what we are surrounding our bodies by. So there's definitely a lot of things that I recommend. One of the first things would be what are we eating? What are we putting in our body? So each food